fantastic. So one of the earliest declarations in the Gospels before Jesus was even born, or right when he was born, I suppose, is fear not. This idea of fear is a big deal that the scriptures talk about. Perfect love casts out all fear. Well, all of these, not all these topics, various topics bring up fear. Fear is what causes us to recoil back and not talk about things that we need to talk about. So it's not unusual that things like conflict for some of us is like a fear topic. Oh gosh, don't want to go there. Talk about money. Oh, that brings up everything depending on who you are. Or oh, sex. How do you get at that? It, opens up all sorts of things that might feel out of our control. And so we're going to be aware of our fears. I think it's fantastic. It's kind of like, when you do your taxes, you go to your accountant. It's not fun, but you go there. And then once you go there, you get a little help on the thing that you're not that great at. And so 8 dates on various dates, we're going to go there. You're going to be on that date in that Zoom class that week and so on things that might be your strength one week, and another week it's where you're like, I need someone else to row the boat, so that together we're going to get to all these topics, because the research shows that getting to all these topics is how we have a vital, healthy relationship. Staying away from certain topics is how we end up having a part of a healthy relationship, but then parts that don't get developed. And then that costs us as time goes on. So delighted that we can kind of get a little clarity on the kinds of things that we might have a few feelings about, and we'll have those together. And as we move forward, sounds right. I want to share just a teeny bit before the breakout group question. Does that sound all right?
Yeah.
So you guys are kind of getting the feel of the format, right? Where we're, connecting, and then you get a little video, a little bit of teaching. Certainly what's taught is going to show up in your chapter, and you'll be doing that on your date. And so you heard a little bit of content, and, I'd have to say I just love our team. Father Timothy shared so many nuggets there, super helpful. I wanted to, and then I had a quote in my little segment about the inner world. So I just want to talk a little bit more. You heard the word curiosity. So I just want to underscore that a little bit, if I may, for 2 minutes. When we think about this idea, I just want to start with, I don't know how many of you have kids, but you've heard of the term acting out. When we think of the term acting out, what do we think about? We think about our 3-year-old freaking out in the grocery store, wanting, 5 bags of potato chips, and we say no, and they freak out and they act out. So typically the common term for acting out, we typically think as misbehavior. We think of acting out, we just want to kind of like correct it, like stop that. But acting out is actually a clinical term. Now, what kind of clinical term is it? What it is that whatever's going on in our inner world, whatever's going on in our emotional life, very often we act it out in our behavior. Now, the younger we are, the more we act it out. Maybe the more evolved we are, we use words and we try to talk about what's going on. But research also says under stress, emotionally, we go backwards, way back here, and we start acting out again. And we have a deep feeling, super important feeling, but we often act it out in some kind of behavior or misbehavior, some kind of acting out of some kind of attitude or name calling or whatever that is. Acting out happens for all of us. So as we get in our breakout group questions, you're going to have opportunity to reflect on anything that stood out in the segment you saw from myself and from Father Timothy, but also we want you to reflect on this idea of curiosity. Now, where does curiosity come into play? When we're most stressed, we tend to act out in our marriages. And the response to that from our spouse very often is like, oh my God, are you kidding? Go, yeah, go away. We don't like that behavior, and we disconnect. The idea, and then we also have an opinion, like we criticize that, like not working for me. We only see the behavior. If we understand the science here, we understand that the behavior that's so troubling comes from a heart that's troubling. And if we go with the quote we said earlier about the inner world, will I be brave enough to share my inner world? Will I be curious enough. So when this behavior is coming my way or attitude or whatever it is that's kind of tends to cause us to pull back, we lean in and go, wow, that's not fun to have that behavior, but curiosity. I want to be curious about what's going on inside of you. We pull back. That's correction. Oh my God, you're acting like your mother, whatever. Like, however we do that. Curiosity, we lean and go, wow, something's up. I'd love to know what's going on for you. That really matters to me. Curiosity versus correction. So you'll have opportunity to reflect on that or anything that stood out during our video segment.
I really like that, George, and thank you. I'm just going to reiterate that quote that John Gottman shared,
Yeah.
and it's you can spend a lifetime being curious about the inner world of your partner. And then the most important part of that is, and brave enough to share your inner world.
Yeah.
And so, as we reflect on this really wonderful question, let's really consider how we're going to approach this 8 dates experience about being curious.
Great.
Last of the groups just entered into this main room. So yes, welcome back. So great to see you. And I will add Father Timothy and George to our main screen. And I'd like to invite you both to lead us in some closing remarks.
Right on. Hey, Father Timothy and Prez, I love you guys, and I love being next to you. I love the bonding around this whole.
Well, actually, you're above us, but that's okay.
Oh, you're next to me on my screen.
Oh, okay.
So you have to talk to the Lord about what's going on with your screen because I am by your side. I'm never above you. I look up to you. If anything, I'm below you. So I love you guys. I want to say to the class that I hope you're picking up the spirit of what this is all about. And we joke as a team, we call it Love Fest because we just feel the love of the Lord. We feel love of the beauty of these opportunities, talk about things that matter. So we look forward to future weeks with you. And Father Timothy, I was going to share a little bit on a closing remark, and then if you could take it from there, does that sound okay to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So Father Timothy earlier talked a lot about skills. In this intro chapter before your first date, it's packed with skills, talking skills and listening skills. And he really brings up these points around we could love all day, but if we don't have skills, it's going to get lost in translation. I want to bring up just at one point that we find in research, and I don't have a PowerPoint for it, but it would be on a chart. And it would be this. We find that relationships come down to two basic components: how much we care and how much skill we have. And we're all somewhere on that scale. And so when we think about that, we'd have a quadrant, like 4 quadrants. So we'd have like, if we have high caring and low skill, that leads to a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of Groundhog Day, a lot of like, oh my God, we're here again. I thought this interaction was going to go well, and then that's the high caring, and then the low skill, like, oh, did that again, said that again, shut down again, got hysterical again, got disconnected again. However our low, because all of our low skills show up in a whole bunch of ways. High caring, low skill leads to misunderstanding. Now, that's not our only choice. We could have low caring and high skill. What's that? That's called manipulation. I don't really care about what you're saying, but I'm going to say all the right things. That's manipulation. Or we could have low skill, low caring, and that's what defines a toxic or abusive relationship: low caring, low skill. And what we're after, and Father Timothy shared some beautiful nuggets there, and it's all in here on that pre-chapter before the first date, before the first chapter, bunch of skills. We really want you to review them, because what we're after is high skill, high caring. And that's a healthy relationship. Not talking about perfection, talking about progress, talking about movement, talking about, Lord, help me care more, help me be more skilled. We get hired at a job, we don't vote for low skill, we vote for high skill. Things we care about, we want to get more skilled. And so that's my little closing remark, is that I want you to think about this, kind of challenge, healthy challenge, that we are signing up on 8 dates so we can really help cultivate high caring, high skill, so we can truly reflect what love is all about. And I'll just close with this, and Father Timothy, it's yours after this one point. The person of your spouse, you know them, they matter because they're a person, and that spouse looks at you and they hopefully see a person because you matter. That word person reminds us that our faith is in the person of Christ, and he modeled high skill, high caring. So as we follow him, he leads us toward that goal. And as we travel together as a group, we're journeying to high skill, high caring. Father Timothy, it's all yours.
Thanks, George. I'm going to take 60 to 90 seconds, and I'm actually going to read something here, and it dovetails really well with what you said about the high skill, low caring.
Yeah.
And this was part of my talk for the clergy couple retreat in Chicago that we had last week, but it was part that I didn't get to because halfway through everyone started asking questions. We got into a very organic sort of dialogue, but we don't want to simply perform connection, acting like we're interested or invested, right? We want to become what we call good narrative stewards, making room in our heart for our spouse. And being a good narrative steward, it really allows us and our spouse to step out of our self-protective sort of places where we have a lot of armor. Because we're not connecting, it's very natural in a way for us to get into sort of these defensive postures, not to mention just sort of the history of our relationship narrative and how that's contributed to that. And I think the content we cover in 8 dates will help begin this process and hopefully help all of you begin to make the shift from wanting to be right to wanting to get it right. And so we have to become curious of the inner world of our spouse and be brave enough to share our own inner world. And Brene Brown has this beautiful quote. She says, vulnerability is the core of shame and fear, but it is also the birthplace of joy, belonging, and love. And I would say that most of the times, couples I've worked with, and even clergy couples, that vulnerability is a very scary place because it is a place where we have experienced shame and fear. But it is also that place where we can experience and have the birthplace of joy, love, and belonging. And that's what we're striving for. And it's never too late to do that for any of us. It just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of commitment, and a little bit of practice. And we can get there. And I know that my wife and I are living proof of that. So, George, thank you for your words. And everybody, thank you for joining. It's really, really awesome that you're here. And we're looking forward to the next couple of months or so with you all.